Hi there, Skitty Mastati. Welcome to Open Door. Today we're going to go interview my very good friend Joe Perella, who is one of the co-founders of Perella Weinberg. He's one of the legends of Wall Street. He had a firm called Wasserstein Perella. He worked at Morgan Stanley and First Boston. He's seen it all. Let's go see what he's up to. I'm here today with my good friend Joe Perella, fellow avid fisherman, I might add, and chairman and founder of Perella Weinberg, as well as Wasserstein Perella. And Joe, you also worked at some of the majors, I know Morgan Stanley and First Boston.
That's it.
But before we go into that, I want you to take me way back to when you were a kid and where you grew up and what your parents were like and what your brother was like and how you got going.
So my father came to this country in the 30s. Unlike a lot of immigrants, he had a college education. So I grew up in a family that had a fanatical attachment to education. And the answer to everything I ever wanted was, we can't afford that, we're saving for your college. And so, came time to graduate from Union High School. My guidance counselor, Mr. Boyle, sat down with me and goes, "Perella, sit down." We all know him because, everything was sort of pretty intimate in those days. "With your grades and your SAT, here are 3 schools you can get into." Lehigh was one of them.
Okay.
Well, I spent junior and senior year in the College of Business and graduated and came to New York and got a job as a CPA. Very funny. My father was an accountant. I ended up going to an accounting firm. So I worked, and then of course, that was an era, Skitty, where everyone had to serve their country. And one of the great things that was lost when Nixon did away with the draft was this unifying commonality, or if you want to call it that, common experience. I took the test to join a tactical fighter group called the 108th Tactical Fighter Group, and basically, long story short, I became a crew chief on a fighter bomber, and I spent probably a sum total of almost 2 years on active duty and 4 years in the New Jersey Air National Guard.
Okay.
So, but everyone had to do that. And I was in this unit with guys who were advertising executives and guys who were policemen.
Great bonding experience.
And everyone had there was a common denominator. Every male had that experience. Right? So, in 1970 I got out, and it was through my experience of being in the Air Force and being in the New Jersey Air National Guard that I got to be friends with 2 different guys, and they had one thing in common. They'd both gone to Harvard Business School. And up until then, I thought, geniuses like Robert McNamara went to Harvard Business School, not dummies like me from Newark, New Jersey, right? So I said, I've got to go up and check this place out. I go up there, I sit in the class, and there's this intense discussion of this case, and I know I want to go through that experience. And I ran back to that Morgan Hall, and I said, I want an application. Okay, my first job for the summer was at the World Bank. Thanks to one of my professors, Ray Goldberg, I got a job at the World Bank. I couldn't get a job on Wall Street, got turned down by every firm I interviewed for a summer job. I got first year honors. I was awarded a Goldman Sachs Sidney Weinberg Fellowship. Started work August 14th, 1972 at First Boston. I go through the training program. There's 16 people in the training program. At the end of 6 months, we get called into the boardroom. There's 8 people in the room. And the head of HR said, "If you're here, congratulations. The other people didn't make it." What happened? They were good guys. Well, the chairman thought it was a tough year, so he asked us to downsize the size of the class. And that was it. So I started on my M&A path as the one person. Would you call one person a group? No. So Bruce joined July 1, 77. He became co-head in May of 79. And then we ran M&A together from 79 to '86 when we became co-heads of all investment banking at First Boston. In 1988, not because we had a burning desire to start our own firm, but you know, when you're on a firm on a ship and you feel it's in dangerous situation,
Right.
if you say to the captain, we have to change course, we're going to hit the rocks, and they say, you know, thanks very much, Sonny, but shut up and go back to work.
Right. Yeah.
You have two choices. You
Yeah.
shut up and go back to work, or you get off the ship. And since neither one of us were suicidal, we got off the ship. We started Wasserstein Perella February 2nd, 1988. And within 2 years, First Boston wiped out all its capital.
Yeah, so
And they got swallowed by Credit Suisse. So I never aspired to run a big Wall Street firm.
Right.
I don't think that's where my skill set is.
Well, you're an entrepreneur at heart. I mean,
Yeah, so, but that wasn't also, again, I didn't wake up every day saying, got to start a firm, got to start a firm, no.
yeah.
It's like I did it because that's what the situation called for. So having said that, we decided, okay, we're going to start a firm. And in the course of what I call the summer of the wise men, okay, we wrote a business plan, Terry and I, and Bill Caracas, but he was another person who resigned from Morgan Stanley. I wanted to run it by people who I had a high regard for. So we had every week we had lunch with a different wise man, right? Steve Schwartzman, Felix Rowaiten, Don Marin, Sandy Weil.
All the powers.
Yeah, are really smart people, Tony James. And in the course of that, Kenny Wilson, the senior financial institutions banker at Goldman, now vice chairman of BlackRock, was one of the wise men I wanted to go out to lunch with and run my business plan by him. Kenny says, I wouldn't change a thing. Terry and I had lunch with him. By the way, you guys know Peter Weinberg. And I said, you know, I don't know Peter because he spent most of his time in London. I know his cousin John. And I really love his father, Jim, because the first banker I met when I was a student at Harvard Business School.
Okay.
And Terry said, sure, I know Peter. So we said, well, why are you asking us about Peter Weinberg? He said, well, he's leaving Goldman. He's trying to figure out how to start his own firm. Serendipity again, right? So we start the firm June 14th. Here we are 6.5 years, almost 6.5 years later. 415 people. We built it through the meltdown. And, you know, we always face challenges. As you know, you grow in any business. When you're growing, you have a challenge. If you're not growing, you have a challenge. Most importantly, what this business is all about, if you're an advisor, the first, second, and third most important thing is your reputation. So what we obsess around here is reputation. And they never, ever stop talking about it. Because if we jeopardize the reputation, everything begins to melt down and erode overnight. In the service business, you take years to build up your reputation. I've been on Wall Street 40 years. I screw up next month. 40 years doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's what I did today. You know, we've spent 30 to 40 years on the street, the senior people here. So they have good sources of information and we can do a lot of good due diligence on people. And then with the younger people, what you have to do is to make sure you're getting them to embrace the culture you want the firm to have. Culture being defined as what do you care about?
Right.
If he talks to the guys in the mailroom the same way he talks to his partners, that means something to me. All right? So there's a lot of things that you have to do to have a strong culture with people feeling great about coming to work every day. If you've ever had a job where you felt shitty when you came to work, oh no, you get up in the morning, you look at it, I call it the look in the mirror phenomenon, you know, and you go like, another day, all right?
Yeah.
That's a bad
I think
situation.
a lot of people, a lot of our viewers have felt that way.
That's a bad situation. Yeah. So, and I want to have a firm, and I hopefully do, where people can't wait to get to work. They feel good about the people they're rubbing shoulders with. They feel good about the contributions they're making to clients' goals and objectives, and are proud to have you know, our name on their calling card. So I just gave you from Newark to now.
I
And
loved it.
Summary form.
I love it.